Beep 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 beep. Hello and welcome to live stream. I have no idea. Oh, I see it on my console now. Okay. Still got nothing showing up. Okay. I don't seem to have an image on my console, which is always fun. Hello and welcome to another live stream of my Bevy platformer. In this video, in this live stream, I'm going to be implementing a editor that will let me make levels. This will make a lot of sense after you see this week's video, because in this week's video I made levels savable and loadable, and it's kind of pointless functionality if you can't, edit levels to then share with people. So I figured I should add an editor, but it's not so much the video was long, but the video was already scattered enough. I didn't think it was a video worthy thing, so I'm doing a live stream, and at the end of the video I said I was planning to do a live stream, so people can find this VOD. It'll be hopefully linked in that description of the video if I remember. So we're gonna make an editor. We'll just be like pub use Bevy prelude, like always. I saw someone's video that they had a really cool thing, like where they would just type Bevy and it would automatically fill the prelude stuff in. That was a really cool plugin, but I never remember what it was called. So it's very similar to the one I've got that lets me go commands and like that kind of stuff, but it just like had more stuff like prelude and that. And I think it also had things like ones pre-built in for plugin and stuff like that. So what are we doing? We are going to need a pub struct level editor plugin. Okay, and then we're going to need a pub struct level editor state, and we should probably also go back to our main, go down here and say level editor. Okay, so we'll import plugin for level editor build, and so we're gonna need an fn setup level editor. Alright, so setting up level editor, we will say commands. What else do we need? Probably nothing. So level editor state is going to be something like current, and that's going to be a box dynamic map object, like that. And the idea will be that like whatever object you've got with its current settings, and then when you place it, it will disappear from this. So this probably needs to be an option. I don't know how well this is going to work. In terms of like, I need to somehow come up with a way of being able to have like a shadow version, and I don't really know how I'm going to do that. Because the map object itself has a spawn. We could probably also do something like fn editor, like so, that takes in like a mute self I don't want to make an EGUI. I actually want like a proper Bevy editor. But I might have to just do that. Which mute self. We'll just go with an EGUI one because it's actually easier to implement. Which means I should probably pop back here. And go import inspectable. Inspectable. So I don't think I have the Bevy inspector. Bevy underscore inspector. Let's hope I spelled that right. If not, it's going to be a pain. Nope, okay. Bevy inspector. Come on, Google spell check. No, it's still. Oh, it's inspector EGUI. GUI. Is that correct? No. Where? How do I? Is it because it's dashes? I never remember when you're supposed to use dashes and underscores. It always throws me off. Alright, so that will give us the inspector, which means we come back to here. Where's our editor? So we say inspectable, which is Bevy inspector GUI inspectable for well, just we'll do it for the level plugin. I'm just trying to get the function signature for the UI. And then we say these other things that we pass. We just basically, we're going to take this thing's function signature, like so, and we're just going to say that that's your function signature here. So basically this is just a hacky way. I need to say that your attributes, so kind of the problem, isn't it? We could say that all map objects need to implement inspectable, but I don't actually want all map objects to implement inspectable. Like what I'm trying to do is come up with like a way. I'd want it to take in like self. And then like maybe draw. So we wanted to draw the editor, which will take in itself, because we need to know what type it is in order to do that, and probably a mutable access to commands. The root entity, like so, that will allow so for the parent. So basically what it'll do is we'll say like whatever I've currently got selected, call draw editor on it to get like an editor at the bottom of the screen that lets you change the parameters of that specific type of entity, which is kind of why I need to use the inspector, but I don't want to. Mostly because, as you saw, like it needs the attributes crap, and that becomes like, then I may as well just say inspectable, like that, and then your UI would take in the signature, and then would have to say something like self as inspectable attribute. attribute for inspectable must be specified. Right. Could I do... No, because you can't do generics there, can you? Well, the other option, I guess, is just to take these options away. We obviously want to pass the editor in, and maybe the context, but the options could be generated by the actual individual. But I don't use attributes now. No, see, okay, so I think that's saying because this needs to hold the type. Which means I can't do that. I'm just trying to work out how not to, I don't want to hack away around a lot of this stuff. So we'll pass in commands, because then it can spawn it, and back to giving it the root, which is just going to be an entity, because then we can spawn it as a child of a specific thing. I guess what we're going to have to do is have a bunch of buttons, and then we'll have like an FN UI update, and we'll say this takes in mute self. So this doesn't need to be mutable. This could just be self UI underscore draw. Okay, so this will take in mutable self and a an editor event, maybe, or just a could we say, was it FN an FN once, I don't remember how to call FNs. So we want an FN once that takes in a mutable self and I don't know. I guess just mutates it. Is that something expected type okay, so you can't do that. How try to make it so I don't have to write like lots of fucking events and stuff that will then update the UI. Like, because we could just do events and have like the events set function name, but then we just started to do the same thing like dynamics. Like, I guess we could use reflect. Like that, and then say that this takes in self, and then a FN which is an FN once that takes in. Can we take in a mutable reflect like that? Trait object must include trait object must include dynamic. Where do I need to put the dynamic though? Right. It says remove these parentheses. Nope. Let's just go to Google. That's how they can fix all my problems. FN1 Rust. Just need like an example of how I can do an FN once. Where F implements FN once. Is it this then? Does it have special? No. Function where F, okay, so can we say F where F FN once mute dyn reflect, which means that you will need to get an F parameter, which I don't know if I'm allowed to do that anymore. Yeah, because it's saying you need to specify what F is. How? I want an FN once, but I don't know how to do it. I know it can be done, but I just don't know how. Okay, FN Rust pass closure to function. Maybe you can't do it with traits. I just, you know, just FN mute dyn reflect, because you obviously can't specify F, because otherwise it would need to know what the generic is, but it doesn't need to be generic, it just needs to be a function. Is that gonna work? Huh. Okay. Oh, there you go. So you can do FN once. Okay. Well, I think that worked, interestingly enough. So you take a function, and that function will basically get this and that. Which I guess means that I need to derive reflect on these. So deriving reflect on the two map objects, which isn't too bad of a compromise, except I need to derive reflect on like everything that they use. Like all this stuff needs reflect. And then these also need to be like reflect value in order to not be monstrous fucking like objects that are actually values. Reflect. Okay, so with all that implemented, it's gonna tell me that not all items implement UI draw, and okay, so we're gonna say UI draw is to do, and FN UI update is just going to be to call function with self, mute self. Yes? No? Is not satisfied. What do you mean? Mutable map collector would. Oh, if I just said self. Okay, so if that's the case, I can just do this. I can do this. I can come back to tile map here, and I can say this one is auto implemented. It's just going to. It just takes in self, and then it just calls function with self. Because no, self cannot be known at compile time. There is definitely a way around that, but I don't fucking know what it is. I battled with this when I was trying to implement the serialization. Is that it goes, oh, I know I can't know the size of that at compile time. And then so the solution was just to have a serialization implementation everywhere, which was just this, because it knows the size at compile time. But it's supposed to be... as reflect mute. Hey, it worked. Okay, so it just calls self as a reflectable mute uncalled function, which means I don't need to implement that everywhere. And then we can go to square. We can go close your spawn, and then we go fn draw UI and do a to-do. Okay. And then we come here and we go. We don't need this because this was just to get the function signature that we're not even going to use. Then we get a level and we go, what's wrong with you? Dot serialize. Why are you saying dot serialize? Ah, right, because you can't distinguish between. We want to say map object. Excuse me, map object serialize reference to self, but instead of reference to self, it's a reference to item. No. Okay. What if we said item as map object serialize? No. Okay. I don't. Alright. So we need this item dot serialize. I feel like I'm such an idiot when I program Rust and it does this. Yes, I want this serializable. I'm just gonna have to rename it, aren't I? Just call it serialize, then we can come here. We come here, we come here. Serialize. Okay. Then we come here, and we just need to rename this to serialize. Okay, so we finally fixed all that back up. Okay, to set up the editor, we want to be like commands dot insert resource level editor state. Well, we should probably init it actually. World. Let's derive default. Okay. So we want to dot init resource level editor state. Okay, level editor state. Why are you saying this? Oh, because it doesn't derive resource. Resource. Okay. Well, we're not even like up to step 1 yet. So level editor is the current. So we initialize you, and then we want to go something along the lines of. So I'm gonna need 2 marker structs. So we need a component. I'm gonna need a component called a component called main editor, and a component called sub editor. Alright, so then we are going to dot no, this all goes as one line. We're not making an application here. We call one a command at a time. So we say commands dot spawn, and we probably want to do something along the lines of a node bundle default and our main editor. Okay. And then we want to say fn clean up underscore editor, which is going to run, and it's going to take in commands, and we're going to say we need a query for entities or with main editor with sub editor. Okay, and then we just do the very generic and boring thing of for entity in query, and then we just say commands dot entity dot despawn recursive, and then we say app dot add underscore system set system set on exit game state level editor, and then we go with system cleanup editor. Okay, so that cleans it up. We are probably want to go up above it and go system set on enter game state level editor dot with system setup level editor. Right, so absolutely nothing happens when it actually runs, but we will then spawn a node when we enter this mode, and we'll insert the resource. And the other thing we need to do is say commands dot remove resource, and we want to remove the level editor state. Okay. So we probably want to say something like struct shadow, not static, struct shadow, and that'll be the object directly under your mouse. So I guess with shadow as well, just so that not a component. Derive component. Okay. So the issue becomes I don't want to add to my tile map here a spawn shadow. So I could modify spawn to be all like animations, components. I can't give you a... Could I say bundle and then say import bundle? Or are you going to complain? Yeah. Cannot be made into an object because you have a... could say like components, and then say maybe an array of dynamic bundle. Yeah, no, that wouldn't work either because I'd need to make sure that they clone and copy and whatnot. What am I doing? So we could modify this to spawn as a shadow, but that when I call spawn on you, that'd be a cheeky way of doing it. No, because we send them by events. I guess we could call spawn because we just need commands, don't we? We normally do it via events. So if I just went to the square and said, like, square, you spawn the object, like you just call spawn. Yeah, so there's no reason I couldn't no reason I couldn't be like entity as a return type. If I want to do that in the main thing. So when I say spawn, you return the entity that you spawn. And then each of these are going to tell me how they're not able to do it. So then we would just go .id. And that's for all of these as well. Well, actually, it probably would be .id. We would probably want it to be an option. But that's easily fixed. So each of these will return the entity that they spawned, because that means I can just add the shadow after the fact. Like I don't need to... Why is that not working? All right, and then you're just going to return none. All right, so back to here, we're going to say this is an option, because it is possible for a spawn to fail if you provide inappropriate sized stuff, like here example, and then we say up here, we just say okay, wrap that. Okay, so you return an option entity. Okay. What is complaining now? You, because you're the only one that didn't suggest. Okay. Add children. No, it's not add, it's with children. Okay. Oh, it's because it's not okay, it's some. Okay, some. And then you'll be the same, where we would just go into you, we would say your return type is an option. Optional entity. So you return none. And then down here, ID. And then we say some. Yeah. Alright, so some entity, and then let pause. Do you return? You return early. None. You return early. None. You return early as well. None. Okay. And return none. Okay. Also, did I even set a picture for this? Yeah, okay. Okay. So with that, we now have a way of spawning an entity and then attaching the shadow component to it. It's gonna break slightly in terms of like as you move a mouse around, because of the way it works, it won't quite work as intended, but we'll get to fixing that. So we want to enable our node bundle to have a style. It's going to be a style. For now, we'll call default, and then default on the rest of you, except I want node no, background color to be color gray. Alright, so for our style, we will then re-expand our style. I'm going to say we need your size. It's going to be a size with a width of val percent 10% and a height of val percent 100%. And and we'll just dot default over. Then we say your position is going to be UI rect. Yes, that's what position is. Yes. Left. No. Right is going to be a val. Percent 0. Well, actually, I could probably put this as pixels. 0 pixels from the right hand side. This should put a grey rectangle directly on the right hand side. Now if we go to our menu here, we go where's our setup main menu? We want to add a button. That's not main menu. This one's main menu. We want to say make button p with style, which is apparently called size. So we can copy this, go here. That's not what I want to do. Okay, and then wait, what? Oh, right. We need to dot clone you. Then we pass in style. We say that your text is editor. Your font is font.0.clone. And your components are game state level editor. Okay. We should probably also make squares. These guys should probably also insert self. So is self clone copy? Probably also make self copy because you're very small. So when I say spawn, these, so we do that, and then we want to say self. Let's do a dereference for self. We need to just make self a component. This is just so that when I collect the level at the end of the level editing, I can just go in and be like, I know what each of these values are. Each of these. Okay, so now each box will contain from here to here. Alright, so each square will now contain that square. What am I doing? What am I going to do now? What am I going to do? So, I guess we have our editor box, yeah? So, I guess the main thing, let's test it first. Cargo run. Wait for this to compile. Okay. So we go into editor and Where is my editor box? Well, it's obviously nowhere, because if it was going to be anywhere, it would be at the bottom. And it's not, because the collectibles are down there. Got to connect at least one banana. So, why did that not work? On enter of level editor, setup level editor. We initialize that, we spawn the node bundle. And then no. Editor window. Why did you not work? Probably because we didn't add the plugin. No, editor. Editor. Level editor plugin. Okay. So, main run. Okay, so then we click editor. And it's on the wrong side of the screen. Why? Open. Style. Right. Right. So if we set U to 0, and then we say the left should be auto. No. But how are you? This is what I've never understood about this stuff: is auto 0 pixels on the right. Should it not be all the way over here? Like, shouldn't it be on the right hand side? So I need to set the margin to auto. Right. Editor, position, margin is a UI. Rect, all, val, auto. Alright, so set all margins to auto. Okay. So with all margins set to auto, we will spawn all our stuff in. Okay, well, we can't apparently have all margins set to auto, because despite the fact that I'm telling you that you're supposed to be at 0, we would have to set right to okay, we would need to set right to editor left. Only left is auto, because otherwise it doesn't decide. That ordering just seems odd to me. So With you currently, the current object is none. Right. I want to get the mouse position. So, Interesting. So, what are we gonna need to do? We should probably make it spawn. So, we need like an fn make button make item button. Okay, and then make item button. We'll take in a command is a mutable commands. No, not commands. And again, we need to say like, same as my UI buttons, we need to say like C, and then we need to say like components, which is just going to be a C, and we're going to say bundle. Okay, so and we're also probably going to say like parent, which is going to be an entity. Alright, so we say commands dot spawn C. Okay, we need to say a button. A button bundle. I don't think I can do buttons as texture aliases though. Which is gonna mean that like each object will need its own. Maybe, maybe not. Fuck's sake. Why is this stuff always gotta be so hard? Now I have to make my own custom button clicking shit, don't I? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? I need to make it so that when you... I want the button to have the animation on it. But I don't think I can just stick a 2D object. Like I can't just say like button bundle default, right? And then be like dot with children p sprite sheet bundle default. Like, I don't think that will work. What else would we need? We would need I mean, we'd almost certainly just do that. Do that. Oh, wrong way. Do that. Components. And then like dot commands dot entity. I don't know. Isn't this dot like that's set parent like so? So we could do that. No, but I don't think that'll work because so you'll need access to animations. Animation. Okay, so with animations, we can pass the animation. So what we would need to do is basically we're spawning you and then like ID. So we're doing that, and then we're saying spawn. No, was it button? Menu button. Make item button. Okay, so what we need to hand in commands, and then your parent will pay. Yeah, suddenly got really tired. And then your components are going to be, let's just make a test button. So your components would be animations dot get animation and let's just go with a dot expect. Animation loaded. We need to import this. Input. Okay, so we would need other things. Like we will need a we would probably need a handle texture atlas default. And what's the other thing? If we just go to collectible, what does the collectible actually specify? as a requirement in order to be seen. It's not that down here. So we specify it needs the transform from position. Should get that from the other thing, texture atlas, rigid body collider, animation. So it needs the animation handle and name self. Okay. So that implies, but it's not right. It can't be right. Like we're because we need a sprite sheet. It's a sprite sheet texture atlas sprite. Default. Alright. I don't think this is going to work. It'd be absolutely lovely if it did, but it almost certainly won't. Because you need to be able to res animations. Okay. So all it does is spawn the bundle with the components. See, the main reason I don't think it's going to work is because I'm pretty sure like 2D and UI don't play nice, despite 2D and UI being the same. Hello, Gigi. How are you? Yeah, probably should have planned this stream out a little bit more, but I just had time, so I was like, I'll do it. So I don't really know how I'm going to get this editor to work. Like, where did my button go? Where is my button? It has one node. And that node has a background color. Well, it's probably because I didn't set a size. We gotta go down to size and be all like, give me 100 pixels by not negative, 100 pixels. Okay, so see, I got a white square, and I don't think there's any way of making it not a white square. Like if I set that to transparent, you can't get the background image. And I don't think there's any way of like using a texture atlas's handle to get get access to a handle that you can then use as the image. Because otherwise that'd be lovely. If I could just set the button's image equal to the texture atlas's image. But looking here, like your transform would be right if I remember. Like your transform would be correct. It's just that you're like missing something. You've even got the animation. You're just not visible, and I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm pretty sure if I like got rid of these components, it's purely just that it's like hidden behind the button, maybe. Look, could it be that maybe it's behind? Like if I made this end the button transparent, like is it just a layering issue? No. Huh, that's really cool. I can open like a parents thing. So you've got a computer visibility, you've got a transform. Wait, you don't have a global transform? No, you have a global transform. You do have a global transform. Why are you not showing me? Oh, there it is, global transform. Main editor. Okay, so What am I doing wrong? Why can I not get you to render anything? Like, if I... So, if I was spawning components as a child, that's with child p. Let me say like p dot spawn. We said components here. So instead of doing that, bro, what I would want is to say maybe dot. We almost certainly don't want this. We want to go like dot insert components, and then we want to come here and we want to say sprite sheet bundle. Okay. So if I spawn a sprite sheet bundle beneath it, like surely that will result in an actual concurrent, like to like the button. It should. Well, that panicked. Of course it panicked. What do we got? Unknown error. Query did not match. Which query? Why? What are we missing? So excuse me, but that shouldn't have fucking mattered because there's that's a player thing, right? Oh no, this is update clipping. This is a Bevy thing. UI. Node get, okay, so node global transform style. An optional calculated clip. Node query children. Because we go through each of your children's, my bad. What entity? Yeah, let me guess, this is recursive somewhere. Some clip, some old clip, clip. Let children star dot overflow. Where's the children query used? Here. Update clipping. Yep, recursive. Wow, I mean. So saying every child needs to have a node. Okay. So I guess what I want to do for true testing purposes is go back to the editor and go, look, you give that component, right? Don't spawn the child. Take the child away from it. Then we want to come over here and we want to be like commands.spawn. This. So we need to spawn that. Except we don't need this whole P bit here. Like that. Okay. Then we also need a spatial bundle. Alright. So if that then spawns the strawberry at 0, 0, that's it would have like the colliders and stuff. This is most certainly ad hoc, just go as you go. Like I have an idea in my head of what I want it to look like, but as you can already see, I'm like, it's just struggling to get anything to work, so it's probably not going to look like that. So this is obviously missing something. So, oh, there's the tiny strawberry. See, because this is the main reason that I couldn't have a design doc for it. Well, partly just because my brain doesn't work that way, but that's everything you need to spawn a strawberry. But I can't have this like underneath this. Like, why does UI 2D rendering not work? Like, because in theory you have everything that this has. Computed visibility, frame time. Don't need this to be open. Global transform. Handle to the animation, handle the texture atlas, the texture atlas sprite. The transform, is it because your transform scale is this? No. So, like, I don't get why it doesn't. Like, why can't I just attach the required components to this and have it appear? They're just letting Bevy manage it for the moment. Like, the thing is like I can't even get it to render the strawberry on the same component, which I wonder if because Bevy has something that's like when it goes to render 2D, it checks to see if it doesn't have node because that makes it UI. Because the UI image is shared, so like I don't get. So I would thought if I just put these three components, or like the required components, if all these components are present on this entity, which they are, shouldn't it be rendering that as well, just like over here? If I look at your global transform, I'd have to move your transform. So if we make your global transform equal to that transform, where does it place it? Well. That could be the problem, is that the UI is significantly larger. So it is doing exactly what I thought, except the UI scale is wrong, which puts it way over there instead of up here. So that's interesting. So is there a way, like, does UI have Bevy has UI scaling, doesn't it? Resources. Let's just Google Bevy UI scaling. I'm sure there was somewhere that it was like you can. Okay, so when it did a physical size, node value, logical pixels. I'm sure there was something I saw that was like you could scale UI. Scaling UI. It's in news apparently, scaling. I think this is the wrong scaling. Like not necessarily a HUD. I'm trying to just make like buttons that you can click to spawn the corresponding object into the world. But the fact that like it's doing actually what I thought it was, like I put the right components on it. It's just that because the UI scale is so much higher, like on the UI scale, it's 1080p's over here, whereas like 10,000 what 1000 I guess is over here in terms of like 2D scale. So obviously the UI scale is off to the 2D scale, and I'm sure I read something in one of the updates that there was something like you can scale Bevy's UI now, but that might be in a future. Oh, I just saw something called scale factor. No, I think scale factor is referring to something else. Update scale factor for backend. UI navigation. UI scale. Okay. No, this will only affect UI values like val pixel. Okay. Is UI scale a component? Auto trait implementations, blank implementations. It's a resource. Yeah, UI scale. So if I scale the UI by like half, well, the problem is I want to use the UI's buttons that you can automatically click. Like it just makes, otherwise I'd have to implement my own logic for clicking, and you have to track the mouse yourself because you have the same problem. Bevy's cursor logic is in UI space. So if I have the buttons in screen space, the mouse won't line up with them without, you know, doing scaling. So it'd be easier. Because yeah, UI is parented to the camera in that sense. Like it's always drawn in the top right. Like I can move this box around. It seems to just be that the UI object here is just at a different scale to there. So I feel that the global transform, if I scale the UI, because I'm just relying on the global transform set by the UI object, that will fix my problem. So let me try that, because this seems like the kind of resource that if it's not set, it's just default, because it doesn't appear to be in the resources that are already enabled. So if we say editor, when I add this, I also want to app.insert resource UI scale. That's a good sign that's in the prelude. It kind of means you're supposed to use it. So it's a scale of F32, so weirdly like scale. If I said like 0.5, I'm just curious. So when you add the UI plugin, it registers a whole bunch of types. Like, is UI scale ever used inside this system? No, it's exported. We init resource UI scale, and its default value is 1. So if I say half, it should, you know, logically be half. Okay. It's not that the inspected camera is different. It's like UI is drawn on top of the camera, like it's a separate rendering pass. So, because like every 3D engine sort of or even 2D engines, game engines have the idea of your 2D objects are separate to your UI objects, which hilariously this has made my UI half the size. The question is, did you get any closer, or is it not going to help? So if your global transform is still 1000, wait, why can I move your global transform? That doesn't make any sense. What I need is for this number to be smaller so that the UI layer, which is all controlled by Bevy's UI system, renders it all properly. Still not there. It's probably also too high up. See, so this strawberry should be over here just by the fact that this is where this node is. Like if I go into background color, no, if I go to style, if I give this node a size, let's say like 100 by 100. Right, so it's over here, and this, no, oh, because I updated the values, it's moved. This strawberry is a child of this node, like not even a child, it is the same node. It can't be a child because that causes Bevy to crash because it expects all children to have a node component, and having a node component on an object that's not UI doesn't make any sense. Where did that global transform go? Interesting. So I'm not really sure how this edits anything then, because so updating that causes this to update, which sets this back to 20. Like, why is this number so big? It must be because the position of this is actually 0. Because this is 0 and from that, and this is 512 from that. Because like the other problem is like it would be really easy to fix. I could just set the UI image here of the button to be the sprite that I want. But because I'm using sprite sheets, I don't think Bevy lets you specify UI directly from a sprite sheet because they're actually two different entities. And so you can't treat them as the same thing. Try and demonstrate that. We'll go down here. We'll just make it texture atlas. Texture, it's just going to be like handle default. And dimensions. It's just a vec2 splat 10. Alright, so with this we've got a texture atlas that has a handle to whatever our sprite sheet is, and then a like a splat of the actual oh no, now I've broken my console. And then like, you know, and then we've said that the texture atlas is 10 pixels per 10 pixels, not important. If I remember, you can go like texture atlas dot see, when we add a texture, we give it a UI rectangle, and that's like the rectangle of this image we should draw. But the UI images have to be these images. They can't be subsections of UI images. Like maybe that's not how it works, but because like we can get texture index, and so to get a texture index you give it a handle image, but there's no way to get like a texture. So the texture is the underlying handle image. And then this is just a hash map. So when you add textures, you get handles, and it's just a relationship between that and the index inside. See, neither of these return a handle. So there's no way to like point into a texture atlas. And get here. It's, in some regards, I feel like the easiest thing to do would probably be just to bite the bullet and go into GIMP and split off like individual textures. Because I want to use the texture things, but it don't think it works. Like I'd have to split these from, they're bad examples. Like the apple. So this is the sprite sheet for the apple. And I'd have to just cut an apple out so that I can use the apple as the image for the button, as opposed to the way it currently works, where it's not a not something you can select. This is not going nearly as well as planned. I was hoping it'd be much easier to like make this work. Because in theory, all the editor really needs to do is keep track of what object we've got selected and let us place that object in the world. Okay, so with the word position, window. Okay. So just in the Bevy cheat book, it's saying that you can use this code to convert like the coordinate system, like the cursor position, to the camera's world position, which is kind of what we want. In the sense that this will let us place things into the world, because it can convert the cursor position. So if we just modify this, so we have to go back to main and go, have we somehow declared this as our main camera? No. So we will make this main cam, and then we're going to also need to derive, we need a component, and this is going to be main cam. Alright, so main cam here will let us derive. No, it's not that I want the button animated, it's that I don't want to cut the sprite sheets up in order to set the button's image, if that makes sense. So, like, you can't set a sprite sheet as the button image. You have to use just a regular image, which would mean I'd need to go into, like, GIMP or something and cut, like, the first slide of the animation so that the buttons can use those as images, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing since I can't work this out. I'm just trying to quickly make like a button click system. So I'm just do this. We don't need this. Then this will be main cam. Okay, so we use the crates main camera, the global transform in the camera. Okay. render target window. Window equals let get ID get primary. So so world position. So we need that to be like divided by. I think it's by. Is it +8 divided by 16? I think this is how I convert my world position into like the world position into the game coordinate system. Is to add 8 and divide by 16. It might be -8 and divide by 16. I'd have to look at other code to work that out, and that seems tedious for right now. So we need to go here and go dot round. Not round, floor. Well, we can get rid of the +8 and then just round. So is it divided by 16? And dot round. Just print line. So ray coordinates, ray origin, truncate. So my cursor system. So we want to say something like click, and then we go res input mouse button, and then if click dot just pressed mouse button left click. So return. Dot add under the system. Okay. I'm guessing I'm gonna have to use 2D objects and not UI for this to work, and hopefully this will let me like click and it'll tell me like what world cell I clicked on. So if I remember correctly, the player is at 0, 0. So go to editor. So if we click here, yeah, see in the console it writes like 0, 1, because I think this would be, no, where is 0, 0? That's 0, 0. So that would let me place objects in the world. And the idea is that you would click like a box over here to say what object you wanted to place, and then you would click in the world to place it. But that's not going to work with the current way the UI is working, because I can't use the sprite animations or like the sprite sheets. I have to cut them up, but that could work. The other issue is that you'll probably spawn an object when you click the button, because the two systems won't talk to each other, so the selecting of an object and the placing of an object will happen independently of each other. Another option would be to use like the colliders on them to get them and move them. But that's more of once you've placed them. I still need to have a list of buttons over here. But I'm thinking it's probably easier at this point to just not use UI and instead use position, like just spawn a sprite over here instead of a UI object. So the main difference is how you control them. UI objects are controlled by a style sheet thing. So you say like, I want it to be percentage of screen width, percentage of screen height, which is really useful for, you know, making your system work at any kind of scale and whatnot. Well, the issue is it's not that I need the single world would work. It's literally just that the two systems are on different scales. So when I'm like, hey, move this a few pixels over it, it moves the one really far away. Like it's like the two worlds wouldn't fix it because, well, I guess it could, because you would just make the editor's camera twice the size, and therefore it would look like the same kind of thing. I'm trying to work out how to do it. So what I'd want to do, I guess, is probably just spawn buttons with UI, like colliders on them. So that like you could click and then it would hit the top layer, because then you could definitely check. And only if it hits nothing does it spawn an object. That might be a good way of doing it. Instead of using Bevy's built-in UI, because like even the Bevy community, like everyone working on Bevy, kind of agrees that the editor, the UI is extremely lacking in terms of functionality and whatnot. And I was kind of hoping when I scaled the UI down, it would have like also scaled the global size, but it does state that the UI scale only affects pixel values, and it just scales anything specified by pixels. Therefore, anything that's like 100% of screen height won't be affected by scaling the UI. But of course, that seems to have resulted in the same problem of the number of units of measurement that it's moved is still twice what I need it to be. So instead of using UI, I might just you know, cut my losses and go with slightly more complicated colliders and whatnot. So to spawn a button, we would want so we want to say like commands dot spawn, and then we'll just call that for now. So I don't know, we need to dot set parent to parent. So instead of doing that, so does this have UI? I'm sure it had, like it's got menu, but like I don't think it's got empty buttons, which is kind of annoying, because that it would be nice to just have like a gray empty button. Confetti. Could you make that? Like I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, the in this particular case, when I go into the editor camera, this is literally not supposed to be in the game. This is just for debugging purposes, so that I can, you know, notice things like this. So it would all be on this single camera. It's purely just an issue with the fact that, according to Bevy, this strawberry, I'll make this bigger again so that you can see it. Size, pixels. So if I make this 100 by 100, right? So this white box, according to Bevy, is exactly the same location as this strawberry. It's just purely that on a UI scale, like the fact that my screen is 720p but the camera is lower resolution or whatever. Well, actually, it's probably more to do with I think the UI starts at 0, 0 here, and the game world starts at 0, 0 here, which means that this strawberry thinks it's where this UI object is. Like, it literally thinks it's here, which, no, even with that, it wouldn't be. I was just thinking maybe it's because it's starting over here. It's putting 0, 0 here, so if you put, instead of zing there, moved it like that. But I think even then it's too far. Like, this strawberry needs to be like here-ish, maybe. Lines up if you put this as 0, 0. But that's the issue, is because the UI uses, so maybe it's not the scale, maybe it's literally that the UI uses 0, 0 as the top left, and everything else uses 0, 0 as the center of the screen. Which means that, you know, everything's in the wrong spots. So it's looking like I'm just going to have to use collide as an object. The issue with colliders and collectors is I'm going to have to be like new. I might have to fix the size of the game as well, just so that you can't rescale the UI and see that it's just scaled. I'll just be all cheaty and be like, give me a 10 by 10 box, and I'll just color it like dark gray. I don't even need to know if I need to color it dark gray. I'll probably color it white. Pencil. If I just color it any color but black. Let me platformer assets, create, no, not a folder, just export this. Okay. So instead of spawning a node bundle, we will just spawn a non-image bundle, a sprite bundle. You will also need access to the asset server. Asset server. And then basically all we will do is go here, go here, go. So what does a sprite bundle need? We need a sprite. We're going to need the image. No, what's it called? Texture. Yeah, the entities would be created at 0, 0 and yeah, see, like that's what I mean. Is so I thought it was just purely a scaling thing because the strawberry kept ending up higher up, but when I give the text box size, like, or the box size, the fact that the strawberry then went to 25 makes me think that, yeah, it's because the coordinate systems are different, which vaguely rings a bell in terms of when I'm reading like change logs. They recently swapped it from bottom right to top left corner. So, you know, that would explain why the strawberry's at 25 and not at 0, or like not some other number. It makes sense if it's coming from the top, so therefore all the UI would sort of be inverted from where it is. So okay, so what else do you need? You need transform global. Okay, so that means you can go back to being default now. And then we dig into you and we say your color is going to be gray. Flip X is that can be default. Custom size. Custom size. Let's just quickly open up some reference materials. I'm just going to look up what the counterpart of 720 is. So I want you 100. Oh, actually, I'm an idiot. 720 is the counterpart. Custom size. So we want to say sum vec2. It's going to have an x of, say, 250 pixels and a y of 720. I don't know what resolution my screen is currently set to, but then what do we got left? Flip x, flip y, rect, and anchor. Okay. The main issue I have with doing it this way is that it's no longer anchored to the UI, or to the camera. But as you said, as a good suggestion actually, is to put this as a child of the camera. Means that no matter how the camera moves, the UI will always be like in the same spot. Trying to think how to arrange it, because if it moves with the camera, then this stops working. If it doesn't move with the camera, then I'd need to work out like another coordinate system for how to, like this screen space to work out the position. I guess you use its transform, but that's easy enough. The other option is to be really quirky with it and make the editor like actually part of the world, and like you've got to drag it with you if you move the camera, instead of it like just following the camera. Would be funny, but probably like more pain than it's worth. So for now we'll just leave that like that. So we spawn our sprite and we go default. Okay. The only thing left to do is say that your transform needs to be so if we said that the game is 1080p, your transform would be transform from translation vec3 new. So new. So your x position would be that number divided by 2. So that number divided by 2 minus 125. I think that's right. That's F32. The y position would be 0, and your z position would be 0. Okay. So that code there should, in theory, as long as I spelt things correctly, let's make this. So you would do the same thing. See, what I need is like an asset button, but that's going to be difficult. We can just give you access to the asset server, like so, and then we just say spawn, and we're gonna basically do exactly the same thing of spawning. So commands spawn. We don't need the ID. Commands, then we spawn. And then we're going to spawn a... we also lose a lot of flexbox stuff, which is one of the annoying things. But instead, we're going to say that you're only 100 by 100. Right, you're... oh, wait. Here's a sub image, which means I can actually instead just do the same thing I was doing before. So I want this to be, what did I have here before? So we don't need this, we don't need this. What I need is for you to just spawn, I guess, C. Or no, so if I wrote this components, let me go back to my live so I don't miss anyone's chats. To be honest, I don't really have any idea how many episodes like any of my tutorial series I have. Mostly because a lot of the series is made with the like whatever I feel like making level of thing. Like if I find something interesting, I'll make an episode of Bevy Basics on it, or if I have something I specifically think requires an episode. And as for the platformer stuff, it's like in the next episode that I've made but I haven't put out yet, I say that I'm probably going to slow down from doing them once a week just because I feel like I'm rushing them too much and having a lot of like not got a coherent like this is the tutorial that this video will teach you, and instead it's more of like what did I manage to cram into doing this week with my busy schedule. We can just spawn components, which is making this not very useful of like a function. Literally just does the same thing I would do. But we give you this, and this. So, I mean, why not just, and then social bundle dot set parent p, and then we'll just undo this. Okay, so yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially considering that like 90% of the examples on Bevy like that I've seen, but I actively don't look for them because I feel like that influences my tutorials too much, knowing what's out there. But the thing I noticed like before I started making tutorials is that all the Bevy tutorials I could find when 0.5 was out, I think, were for 0.3. Like they are so far outdated in terms of like, and especially with those versions, because like a lot of my tutorials, like there's a few points that are out of date, but there's nothing major that's gone out of date yet, except my my actual like initial how you set up a game tutorials. They're a bit outdated, hence the starting the platformer series. But like the things that changed between like version 1 and version 5 are huge in terms of like how you have to change things. But I think it's about 0.7 they started to be like, maybe we shouldn't break everything every update. So since then a lot of things have been like, you can do this easier, but you can also still do it the hard way, like, which I'm assuming eventually they'll remove the hard way as well, because you don't want people accidentally using the hard way. But it's one of those, we don't want to force you to update every time we change things. Like the migration guides went from like half the things in your file needed to be changed to like, you more or less don't have to change anything. You can just make it easier on yourself if you want. I lost track of what I was doing. I was spawning you. And then I spawn you as a child of you. So that would imply... Yeah, I was going to do a whole pausing and playing animations thing on this editor if it worked out easily, but I mean all I need to do is change the animation system to have like a pause and reset button, and then when you hover over it I can make it play, and when you're not hovering over it, it not play. Yeah, or like change to pause or something. It shouldn't be too hard. Go to the editor. Look, we have a grey box. But this is what I mean. It's a fixed size grey box. It doesn't scale with the window anymore. And also doesn't follow the camera if you move it. But, you know, future problems, future problems. Excuse me. What? Oh, I keep clicking parent. Wait, why do you keep taking me to the parent? This is not how this is supposed to work. Why are you broken? Okay, now that is really weird. Why can I not open the texture atlas? So you have your frame time. Why do you keep booting me up a level? Parent, you're missing the, well, I can't click the texture atlas sprites. It keeps taking... What the hell? I can open it like this, but I can't open... Okay, Bevy Editor, you do you. Now I am curious, where the hell is it? I'm gonna have to use your global transform to go like... Apparently you're at like 500. Where the hell is the strawberry? Oh, there it is. So the children need to have like an ID of 1, so they're on top. But look, now I can have a strawberry as a child of this editor window. As for clicking the child, I think I could do raycasting that. Raycasting would be a good approach, I think, and then converting the raycast position back to a well position, as opposed to doing anything fancy with it. What were we doing? We're going in the editor, and we're going to go something along the lines of oh my god, I'm just like losing focus so much. So in our editor, we go, okay, so my spawn button should spawn, say, like a button with a collider. So we should call this like child. And then we should be like, we need to spawn a well, we need a transform bundle. No, it's a position bundle. I'm gonna say like ID. Let's two seconds. I'm gonna go check something. Apparently the dog is being cheeky and learned how to open doors. So what do we want? We're like, and then I back to, and then we say you're gonna get a position bundle. No, it's not position, it's spatial. Spatial bundle, and then this is gonna have a transform, which is gonna be the transform from translation, and then it would be like ID times 100. Dot as vec2 dot extend z level of 1. Okay, so you also need the I wonder if I could make a constant with that asset ID, like a not a constant, static. static. Probably not, because you need access to the asset handler to do it. Could do a weak one, but that seems a bit pointless. Okay, so you have your transform and you default. So with that, we spawn you with your spatial bundle. I don't know if I want access to that. The issue is I need access to, so let's say like main, it's going to have a C. So we'll call you like M, which is also a bundle. And we say like M. Okay. So then we can be all like, you have you and you, which will allow me to specify all those things. Oh, no, main, not the M itself. Then we want to go like dot with children p, and then we go like p dot spawn child. Right. So that should then allow me to say like come down here and be like, okay, make I button. So the ID is going to be an ivec to new. So this one's going to be at 0, 0. Okay, so if you're 250, I really need to change your offset, don't I? So we need to be like ivec to new. So top right corner would be like if it's 250 wide, negative 1.125, and then y is up and it's 720, so 360 minus that times 100. Well, I guess plus that times 100. Position. I'm just trying to think how like the relationship would work in terms of like this is the top corner, and then we add this, which would increment us that way, but we kind of want to go down with the y. So we could say like so we want to say like plus id dot x times 100, and then this one we're going to say like minus id dot y times by 100, since we need to go down on the y, up in the x, and then we get rid of this and we say the whole thing as vec 2. What have I done? I've got it like this. Okay, so that should let me be able to like basically specify that this is going at position 0, 0, so it should be in the top corner, and then commands is just mutable access to commands. Main is going to be a list of components that go on the main, which is going to be basically what we want to do is say something like I guess even here we don't want, I guess we do want a spatial bundle. We need these three things, except that's your transform. So we need these two things to be part of your main. Oh, and we don't want a sprite sheet bundle. So we would want a sprite and a the texture atlas, which we're going to have to specify what type of texture atlas it is. So what type of texture atlas is simply a image and an underscore for the type. Okay, and then the child becomes this stuff. This is all getting very complicated. Your child gets this stuff, and then and the parent is equal to P. Okay, so that should mean if I comment that out. Oh, and OBS is back online. Oh. Good one, computer. Interesting. So, if I go back into the editor, well, it kind of worked. Did I must have miscopied something. I did. I said, you this size, you should be 100 by 100. And that's easy to fix. That's why I like the editor, is because I don't need to recompile to fix that. I can literally just go here and be like, no, you will 100 by 100. Okay, so you're in the wrong spot, obviously. Where are you supposed to be? You're supposed to be at, right, because it's minus a half on that, minus 75 and 310 would be my guess. Yeah. Okay, big grey box. Okay, so that means we come up to our spawn button here and we say minus 75 and 310. Alright, so you also need to have a collider. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna go up to this, I'm gonna see this. Alright, so you have a collider that is going to be cuboid. No, cuboid, and it's going to be 50 by 50. Okay, and then oh right, you're expecting floats. All right, so run. Right, we want to restart. Run. Okay, so orange box means this has a hitbox collider. Okay, so that would mean that we should be able to click you. Now, I think I need your child. Annoyingly, I need your child's child, because for some reason, to have a transform of 1. Strawberry. So it's a strawberry. Okay. Interesting. The more I do this, the more I feel like I probably should have just gone with the EGUI approach, because I'm thinking like, how do I make it so that I can do drop downs and stuff? And I'm like, God, Bevy's UI is missing so much stuff, because like in something like Unity, you would just say, hey, a drop down with these options, when each option is selected, do this thing. But can't do that. Anyway, we need to also say to you, sprite animation. custom size. And then we want to say some vec to splat 50 dot, okay, and then dot default. All right, so that should give me a larger sprite. We might want to make these smaller as well, just out of like allowing more options, but for now we'll leave them as they are. So next, I guess, is to say like they need to contain some kind of information for when they're clicked. So I'm thinking we obviously want to go like dum 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 dum. What am I doing? So we don't need this anymore because we've got that one. So do I want to put a box component? No. Alright, well, I'm struggling with this, so I'm probably going to wrap up, and I'll see you in a future live stream. I hope everyone enjoyed my floundering around. I think I've got a basic idea of how to do this, but there'd like to be a future stream where I actually get it working. So I'll see you then.